In this video, I'll help answer the question, is Vertiv Holdings a buy, hold, or sell? And stay to the end to find out what I'm doing with this stock. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Tepper, and I'm the founder and CEO of Tykr, which is a platform that helps people buy and sell stocks with confidence. All right, let's dive in. And if you're interested and want to see the latest ratings on Vertiv, you can join Tykr for free. All right, so the first thing we'll touch on is, how does Vertiv make money? So they're a technology company that really provides technology for data centers. Some of those products include air and liquid cooling systems, just helping data centers run more efficiently. They also have a system called UPS, which is uninterruptible power supply, which pretty much, I don't think it's 100% guaranteed, but it's probably something like 99% guarantee or something around there, that really ensures to their customers that, hey, all your software applications, everything you're running, there's a high probability of uptime. They also allow pre-configured and custom-built racks and enclosures. You can probably buy racks right off the shelf, or you can have your own custom-built racks for your own data centers. So think of data centers, think of AI, everything around AI. In that case, you're going to need more data centers, and in the data centers, you need more of Vertiv's solutions. They're one of the top players in the space. All right, some of their top customers include AT&T, Verizon, China Mobile, Alibaba, Tencent, Siemens, and Ericsson. So a lot of big names there. All right, let's touch on the latest news, and then we'll get into the ratings within Tykr. So they reported a 35% year-over-year revenue growth. That's huge. They also talked about a 21% increase in their backlog, their contracts that are really in their pipeline. So that says there's a really high demand from a lot of businesses out there that are looking to hire Vertiv. That's a great place to be when you have that much inbound flow. Outbound flow is when you're calling, you're reaching out. Well, in this case, it's a lot of businesses calling them. That's a really great place to be. And then something else to announce is they acquired a company called Waylay, which really uses AI to monitor a lot of the capabilities of these products they put out to customers. So I could imagine like a lot of the monitoring of like the heating and cooling and really the status of the technology in the data center. So perfect complement to what Vertiv is already providing. Now it's using, again, analytics and AI to really monitor their technologies. And the last thing to announce would be they are declaring a dividend of about 3 cents. You're not going to get rich off that overnight, but that's a really good sign. When you build a business, you get to a point where you're generating enough free cash flow. In other words, you're highly profitable and you can give some money back to your shareholders for simply holding stocks. That's an awesome milestone to achieve. So even those 3 cents, that's still a really positive indicator. All right, let's dive into Tykr and see what the latest ratings are. All right, we're going to use the 7. And I always say this, if you're interested, you can go to tykr.com. Go to education and then down to calculations. You can actually see all the calculations that power the ratings we're going to be walking through. Of course, we have some patents on some of these processes, but we try to just be transparent and let you guys know that, hey, there's no secret sauce here. A lot of this is actually pretty straightforward. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to walk through the 7. And the first thing we're going to look at is the summary. Stocks in Tykr are either on sale, watch over price, that's green, gray, or red, and only about 15% of stocks make it to on sale. Well, we can see here with Vertiv, they're on sale. So that's a great sign. To get to on sale, you need a score of 50 or higher in this hexagon. The higher the score, the safer the investment. And you also need a margin of safety of 50% or higher. We can see in this case, it's 80%. So we're checking 3 boxes right in a row. Looking really good. Then in the middle, we have a tool called the 4M Confidence Booster. I'll show you how this works. If you click on this, this will walk you through the 4M experience. It takes about a minute, but it really breaks down those 4Ms. Thanks to Warren Buffett for really giving us guidance here, and then Phil Town, who really coined the phrase 4M. So the first M is the math. That's everything that we do for you. That's that summary, score, and margin of safety. Then we have the meaning. This is how the business makes money and how scalable the revenue streams are. Then you have the moat. How does the business compare to other companies in the same sector and industry? And then you have the management, which is a track record of the CEO. Putting everything together manually could take you hours, if not days of research. We reduce it down to seconds thanks to a little help from OpenAI. So we can see here, this is an 80 4 out of 100. And just to go back here, show you what those scores look like. If you can get to 80 to 100, that's high confidence. If you can get between 60 and 79, that's moderate confidence. And anything 59 or below, I would avoid. All right, so 84 is outstanding. So far, we've got a 4 out of 4 on the 7. Next step 5 would be the 5-year returns. Now, a nice round number to memorize would be 80%. That's typically what the S&P 500 returns over a 5-year time period. And we want to invest in stocks, especially if you're in wealth building mode. In Tykr, when you join, you will see the difference between wealth building mode and wealth protection mode. Wealth building is you are still working, you have a timeline to retire, but that's 5 years out or more. If you're in wealth protection mode, that's when you're 5 years out or less. But anyway, if you're in wealth building mode, you want to be more focused on individual stocks. If you're in wealth protection mode, that's when you may consider moving to ETFs or index funds, or maybe consider holding a lot of dividend stocks. But anyway, in this case, since we're really emulating wealth building mode, that's where most people fall, we want stocks that consistently beat the market. So anything over 80% over 5 years, and we can see here, Vertiv is 658%. That is outstanding. That right there, that's a strong indicator. And look at the consistent performance here. We had a big drop off right here, but it's really taken off ever since. All right, let's keep going. We're almost done. We'll go to the financials tab. The number one most important line on the financial statements is the EPS. That's essentially the profits of the company, earnings per share. So we want to go there and we want to see the stock increasing quarter over quarter. And that is true. Check this out. 39 cents up to 43 cents up to 85 cents. That's ridiculous. Look at that jump. Well done, Vertiv. Very well done. That shows you how much demand there is for this company. And leadership, what they're doing is they're allowing the revenues to just go through the roof, but at the same time, they're keeping their expenditures in check. You see too many businesses out there, especially newer startups. As soon as they make a little bit more money, they increase their payroll significantly. So you're not really seeing the big profit margins. You want to be a little wiser with your capital and really see the revenues increase and really control your expenditures. So I like to see charts like this, another strong indicator with Vertiv. All right, last step in the process would be the earnings calendar. We want to see stocks that consistently beat their earnings estimates. Every quarter, you have a group of analysts on Wall Street that are kind of putting out estimates where they believe the EPS will fall, and then you average that number, and that's what flows here. So we could see here, check this out. They have consistently beat their estimates every quarter. I'm just going back in time here. Let's see what the last miss was. Looks like 2023 by 6%, not too bad. And then 2022, they had a big miss. But ever since, it's been, look at that, really consistent from April of 23. Well done. So overall, I think we're going to get a 7 out of 7 on this. Let's take a look. We'll go to the 7 tab. 7 out of 7. I'm going to give you perspective here on how hard that is to achieve. Let's go to assets, then stocks, and let's put a filter on this so we can see here about 59,000 stocks in Tykr. Let's go ahead and I'll show you if you want to customize your experience on Tykr, you can turn on and off columns and then you can arrange them in any order, just simply drag it up and down. I like to see this order and feel free to take a screenshot, but you can see here, I like to see the company, the summary, the score, the margin of safety, then the 4M, then the 7, because the 7 kind of rolls everything up into one clean screen. And then I'd like to see market cap classification thereafter. Everything else is not as important, but it's kind of nice to have. All right, so we've got the 7 in the right place. Let's hit apply. Let's do this. Let's just see today what a 5 out of 7 in that range looks like, ranging from 5 to 7, 59,000 changes to about 1,000 stocks. Let's change that to 6 out of 7. It's going to be about 216 stocks. All right, let's go to 7 out of 7. 27 stocks made the list. That is really hard to achieve. Well done, Vertiv. All right, so that leads into what am I doing with this stock? Well, at this point, I have a really strong portfolio of about 10 stocks, And of course, if you join Tykr, you can see that portfolio. But in my case, I don't plan on selling anything right now. But if any of my stocks really start slowing down, it's not beating the market by as much as I'd like, I may consider moving to Vertiv. In fact, Vertiv is probably on my top 10. It's on one of my watch lists. I have about 100 stocks on the watch list now, but I'd say they're definitely in the top 10. So I do feel this is a very strong stock. Now, if you want to see the latest ratings on this stock, you can join Tykr for free. A few other key benefits of Tykr. Number one, when you join, you can know when to buy and sell stocks. Number two, you can see my portfolio. And number three, we are connected to about 25 brokers. So in most cases, you can connect your broker and that can automate your portfolio tracker in Tykr. And of course, don't buy and sell stocks based solely in what you hear. Only buy and sell stocks that align with your own personal financial goals. Thanks for checking out this video. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.